This is Optometrists Building Empires, and I'm your host, Ankit Patel. Each week, we'll explore the journey of multi-practice ownership and leadership in optometry. Join us for insights and strategies from the top minds in our field. This show is sponsored by My Business Care Team. My Business Care Team helps your office increase revenues, reduce costs, and reduce staffing headaches. Let's build your empire together. So today, we have an exciting addition to our show. She's a nationally recognized leader in myopia management and a key investigator in myopia research. She's previously a president of the Broward County Optometric Association and was named Florida Optometric Association Local Society Member of the Year in 2019. Recently also named Game Changer of the Year in 2024 by Eyecare Business. She is a co-founder and CEO of Dr. Contact Lens, which is ranked number 41 on the Inc. 5000 list as one of the fastest growing companies in the country. She's optometrist and owner at West Broward Eyecare Associates. Please welcome Dr. Brianna Rhue.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, I'm excited to speak with you because this podcast is about building empires, and normally it's usually focused on multiple locations, but you've taken a different route. So I'm excited to dive in deeper with that. But let's kick it off with, what do you think your most important factor for success was in growing your empire?
In growing my empire is definitely understanding the value of the people around me. So as we're shooting this on St. Patrick's Day, I actually this morning played the sneaker leprechaun, and I went up to my practice, which I have a location, and then obviously running Dr. Contact Lens, I have another location, but I gifted them all with sneakers. And so it's having fun along the way, building the people around you as you build success has been a critical piece to all of this, being wife, having 2 kids and building Dr. Contact Lens, a practice, a high growth tech company. It really comes down to building yourself up as a leader to build those up around you.
So tell me a little bit about how building yourself and building others up. Tell me about a time that it made a difference. Like, was there a time before that you didn't do it, and when that switch clicked, you were like, oh yeah, this is going to help me grow? Like, is there any kind of transition story like that, or a story that really exemplifies why that was so important?
Yeah, as a D1 athlete, I always had coaches and always had great mentors around me. So one thing to always remember is, if you're the smartest person in the room, you really need to find a different room or a different group of people to hang out with, because you're really not growing in that moment. And so I've always had a growth mindset. I've always been a risk taker. And in building Dr. Contact Lens, when you go to optometry school, then really you are the smartest person in your practice, which again, dangerous place to be. But realizing you have to learn the business side. And what Dr. Contact Lens has allowed me to do is learn what a COO is, Chief Operating Officer, learn what a CFO does, learn what project management is, learn about deadlines, learn about goals for high growth things, how to have those around you, figure out what those goals are too, right? It doesn't always have to be on you and ideating on you. This is about having people ideate around you and implement them. So that's where this has become, is I think so many of us, yes, we kind of look to some coaches, but don't really invest fully in coaches. That's where I've seen my success, is you have to work on yourself and really be self-aware to then help others grow around you.
Okay. I'm gonna ask a couple of other probing questions here, because I'm curious. What sport did you play in D1
Yeah,
level?
I was a cheerleader at Arizona. So one of the stories my dad always says, he goes, your life can be summed up in 2 words, which is soup can. And I'll get to the story. So we obviously, high school cheer was coming up. I'm going to date myself. We were like the first dance moms, like all that, competitive dance, competitive cheer. Then went to try out, and I was really tall for a cheerleader, actually. So they really like to throw up the small girls. I was the tallest on the team by like 2 or 3 inches, which is a lot. But my stunts look really, really pretty. So I go there, haven't really co-ed stunted, but can learn things very quickly and throw me up as high as you can. Like, that is my jam. And the coach said, practice standing on a soup can. So we went by the store, we got a soup can, and fast forward like a year, I made the team, but we fast forwarded a year and my parents came back. We actually got in the same hotel room that I made the team in. And sure enough, there was a hole in the ground from where I was standing on the soup can for hours, standing on the soup can.
And so like you're talking about an actual soup can.
Yes, an actual soup can, like standing on it on one leg, holding your other leg, practicing. So, I mean, I did it for hours during that week of tryouts and ended up making the team, and away we went. So just I was a cheerleader and still am. I'm everybody's cheerleader in the industry. Like, get better, keep going. Like, you got this. That's what I'm known for.
Nice. In your office, so you have one location right now, is that correct?
Yeah, one location. That's plenty for me. Dr. Contact Lens now we're in hundreds of locations and growing. So I would like to say I like to own many locations.
Oh, well, it's interesting because those are very different businesses, right? Tech, IT business, and very different skill sets from people around you.
Oh, yes.
How do you tell me what leadership skills did you have to up level to get to that point? Like, what were things that you were like, man, this is something that I don't really know how to do well? What were some of the skills that you had to get to get to that point?
So some skills, again, a lot of it translates back. And so it is being the visionary, having to put out fires at the same time. It is practicing really your language and how I had to learn a whole different vocabulary, right, within the tech space. Like, what is a GUI? I was like, somebody was like, Brianna, your GUI is so pretty. And I was like, thank you. And I have no idea what you just said, but I'm going to go find out, which is graphic user interface. Right. I had to learn, again, I never worked in a big corporate company. Like, I did all these odd jobs. Like, I was a waitress and a bartender, and I worked in a 5-star hotel. So I had some hospitality behind me, but I never really worked under a CEO. I didn't know what their responsibilities were. So I had to really learn project management. And that's when traction was coming really up on the scene about 5 years ago. So reading business books, implementing those, like we're doing StoryBrand 2.0 right now, understanding the marketing framework, understanding cold calling and drip campaigns and all these things that I can translate it back now into private practice. So realizing that, guys, what we have is a gift. Our patients call us. They want to see us. Like, we don't have to be very big hunters. And it's fun to talk about how we can help our practices is right there is gatekeeping. Oh my God. We'll talk about that later. But a lot of it translates. And I see that now. And that's just getting good people around you, letting them fly around you, not being such a micromanager. And we've been taught for so long to save ourselves to wealth and rebate ourselves to wealth. That's not the way. So just having that growth mindset has really helped.
So I think one thing that I've personally gone through, and I think a lot of people have gone through, is trust. Is how can I know I can trust someone who I'm paying $15, $20, $22 an hour to my practice? How do I trust that they're going to do the right job? I feel like I have to micromanage them, or I have to manage them to make sure they do the right job every time. And we had another person to talk about, so Aaron Neufeld, I believe. He's with Odie's on finance. He kind of said something similar to you. Curious to hear your thoughts on how do you bridge that gap as a doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's hard to give up control.
Well, remember in your practice, when you're there, you are the engine. So you have to be pedaling in the back, seeing patients to the best of your ability. Then you have to give everybody around you the ability to level up as well, from how you answer to the phone. Thank you for choosing West Broward Eyecare. This is Brianna, whom do I have the pleasure of speaking with? Then you have your manager, who you have a meeting with weekly, who's going to disseminate that information. So as of recently, I was the one that would run our weekly meetings. Now I have a drop off that I can't get there in time for the meeting. Now that I've completely handed it off to her and let her fly in that space, it comes down to that. So what I've done is I redefined what success looks like to me. So somebody would do it 51% of the way that I would have done it. It is a complete win. When you do that, people around you have to give them the ability to fail. Like if I look back on joining a private practice, so I joined a guy that had a practice for 30 years and he brought me in as an associate with hopes to buy in. He let me fail. He knew like the ideas I had. Like he didn't squash them and say, oh, we tried that. It didn't work. He never once said that to me, ever. And he knew the ideas that were going to flub. For sure he did. But he gave me that to stand on, gave me a soup can to stand on, right? To fall, but also know that he was supporting it and getting back up. So I don't think we give our teams around us the ability to fail or the ability to implement something. So that comes down to priorities as well for your team.
How much had another guest talk about their own self-work. They had to understand what their reactions were to these things. I know me personally, yeah, it's very much like, you know what? I could do that, but when they mess something up, it really, really eats me up inside sometimes. I'm like, oh no, that's not right. It feels like it's a reflection on me and the practice. And oh my goodness, I lost a patient because of a mistake, and now I'm going to go homeless because I lost my patient. Right?
Yeah.
That's a little extreme, but I imagine that's kind of a thought that goes through folks. Is that something you ever experienced? How do you deal with that little gremlin in your mind that talks like that? If you have one, if not, share with us. Yeah, so your perspective on that.
Yeah, I've worked a lot on limiting beliefs, right, that are put onto you as kids. So one great resource is Positive Intelligence. So it's a little quiz that you can do that shows you these things that you've put around yourself to protect yourself that got you here, but it's not going to get you there. So realize that what got you here is not going to get you where you got or want to go. And you are allowed to change your beliefs. I think so many of us was like, we try to stay in, we were right, we were right, we were right. That doesn't serve you. Maybe you were right in the moment, but something has changed. Patients didn't want to order their contacts online 5 years ago. Guess what? Now they do. So patients wanted to come back and pick up their contacts at 5 o'clock 5 years ago. Now they don't. So you're allowed to evolve and shift. So one thing I'm really trying to get the industry to realize, Domino's Pizza, for instance. Domino's Pizza is a tech company that delivers pizza. You can go to the beach, drop a pin, go to the Domino's website or the Domino's app and have a pizza delivered to you. Can people do that with their contacts? No, they're still calling our offices. They're still going to 4 different systems to place an order. They have 4 different experiences. They can't even log in because we've made it so hard. Right? This all comes down to patient experience and evolving the patient experience. Like you can either evolve your services and your offerings, or you can continue to evolve the patient experience and level up. Right now, you have to level all of that up because what we're doing right now is ludicrous in how we're handling patient orders, patients' prescriptions, answering phone calls the way that we do. We have to become tech companies that provide eye care now.
And question, so kind of building on that thought, how have you seen your practice change over time? With you, now you have like a tech company, you see things differently, you have another team. What's changed in your office aside from using your own products, obviously with a contact lens management? What other areas that you changed in your office because of what you've seen just in that aspect?
Yeah, I always look to the dental industry to see what they're doing. A lot of the tech that comes to optometry is another vertical that's very, very similar. So dentists are our brothers from another mother. So for instance, like we started heavily in the dental space. Where'd they come next? They came to optometry. A lot of tech companies start there. So I always look to the dental space. One thing that we did was when I went into practice, it was obviously paper records. I had to find the EMR system. The EMR systems still are so basic. There's some that are evolving a little quicker than others, but we need them to evolve faster. But now this is about data 2.0. So it's not about getting the data out, but it's about monetizing the data that you have. Meaning, if you saw 20 contact lens patients yesterday and 10 of them ordered and 10 of them didn't, do you know how every encounter in your office ended? 99% of us don't. The 1% of us do that actually now can go after those patients. If a patient leaves your practice, you have a 10% chance that they will call you back. Your odds aren't very good. But if you use tech to your advantage by sending them a digital copy of their prescription, something as simple as that, you keep that patient connected to your practice. And now you're the hero in that office or in the practice. If a patient does order from a big box retailer or online, right, and they have a problem, who do they call? Freaking you, right?
It's like, why are you calling me? It's like, you know about information. Yeah.
So we're the ones pedaling away, throwing up all these prescriptions in the back, right, in our dark room, counting to 2 as fast as we can, for the patient to not have a good experience at the front because we confused the out of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they just like back out of our offices asking for a copy of their prescription.
So what did you change specifically in your offices as you're going through your journey? Where did you start and what do you do now? That's so like, how did that shift your view? Like, help us walk through your journey, understanding like how you came to where you are now.
Yeah, so it went from obviously paper records to the EMR system, and then seeing all these mundane tasks that my team was doing. So I went to I had to find a new dentist because I graduated and still I had to find a new dentist where I lived. So I went to that dentist and I got reminded of my appointment through a text message. So I went back. Well, hello, we're still calling patients, reminding them. So I look for ways that I'm a consumer outside of the office and I bring it back. And then I just, as a doctor, we get, enticed by the shiny objects that we get to play with in the back, like the Optos and the SMAP and myopia management and the IPLs and stuff that we buy, right? And what about the toys that your team plays with? Have you updated their phone system? Have you updated your credit card processor? Are you still handing out paper copies of prescriptions? Yes, you legally have to. But can you digitize it? Are you allowing people to shop after hours? So those are the upgrades, right? And I do that actually by doing demos of products and getting my team involved in there.
So you're looking at adjacent industries like dental or even other service-oriented businesses that might be closed. That's interesting. That's a really cool way of kind of keeping in touch with what's going on, what might be coming to optometry next, and staying ahead of the curve. How does your team tie in with that? Like, you talked about your team being really important.
Yeah.
How do you get your team engaged with that? Are they also looking, like, tell me about how the team fits into all this.
Oh, this is where I love gatekeepers. All right. So I absolutely hate that we have 7 to 8 gatekeepers before someone can get to me as the doctor. We are doing ourselves such a disservice by, let's say, we just went to Seco a couple weeks ago. Okay. I've got a lead list right here of all these people that stop by my booth. Guess what? When I call them, hello? Okay, is Dr. So-and-so there? No, she's with patients. Okay, well, she stopped by our booth. She was interested in learning more about Dr. Contact Lens. Oh, no, she's not interested. Dude, you didn't even hear my pitch. You knew she was at a meeting last week. Did she share with you which demos she wanted to take and which one she didn't? What if you just said no, which you did, to a $3 million opportunity? So meaning reps are what move the industry forward. The industry needs us to get better at saying yes or no, or let me think about this later on. And so that's actually why we wrote the iPitch book, is to help people understand that we have 2 sets of our brain. You have your business mind and you have your clinical mind. Clinical, clear, concise. I cannot take risk with patients. First, do no harm. In business, you have to take risk. But we were never taught how to take risk. We were taught how to save money, right? But how you minimize your risk is by asking better questions, is by being curious. And so it's a framework that has 8 questions that you can follow with every single rep that comes in your office. And by doing that, I'm sure that you've built your clinic the same way. That's why you have a podcast about it, right? Is for you to learn new things.
Yeah. And well, full disclosure, my wife's the doctor. I just sort of married into it.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, this is a great business. You don't have to people just show up to your door. You literally almost hang a shingle and people just walk in. I've never been in a business like that before. It's amazing. It's not that simple. It's a little harder than that, but yeah, it's a pretty good business to be in.
Yeah. So. Yeah. But we're saying no to opportunities that you don't even know you're saying no to. And so what I have is I have my team get involved in those demos. Do the demos. Tell me what you loved about it. Tell me what you didn't like about it. Are we going to revisit it? When are we going to revisit it? What problem is it solving? Who would own this solution?
I love that because that in a safe way, you can train people to think in the way you want to think.
Yes.
Because it's funny because we actually have done the same thing. I didn't realize that's what we're doing too. So I'll say like, hey, go check out this demo, this software. All right, tell me what you think. Okay, how does it affect metrics? How does it affect patient experience? How does it affect office flow? How easy is it to train a replacement? How easy can our virtual team or our remote staff or global team deal with this? Right? We look at all these different variables. And so when they start answering questions and asking the questions I would ask, I'm like, okay, I feel very comfortable you're going to make the right decision that I would make. But that's a great, safe way to try and get your team up to speed. Go check out this software. How does it tie back into the business? Do we understand the business the same way?
Yes. Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. So that's what I have them do, right? And then that's where you get lunches paid for. And I think what happened here is now that I've been able to reflect on it, in 2009 with the Sunshine Act, if you look at the doctors pre-2009, so I actually graduated in 2009, and the class that went out and then came back, which was me, like we got nothing. Like they couldn't even give you a pen. They couldn't even look at you in 2009 from that act. Like nobody knew what was going to happen, right? But the doctors pre-2009, they knew that the reps and how critical those relationships were because they moved their business forward. They were in 8 other locations before they were in yours. And we weren't taught that. We were taught to be scared of reps. Because they might give us a pen. Oh my God. Right? And don't get me started on how many rubber balls do you need? Like,
yeah. And to be fair though, some reps are like, I really don't want to meet with them because I know what your angle is. But at least you know that, right? You give everyone a chance and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually interesting. That's the first time I've heard like, hey, keep your ears to the ground. But part of doing that is talking to your reps. What are they hearing? Asking them questions. And then get your team to interview the reps to see what they find and how they think the conversation and how they're learning about the business. Those are really 2 cool insights that I haven't heard before. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's what we've done.
And so you said you kind of remove gatekeepers. So if someone calls your office, they're able to get you pretty easily?
No, I mean, I still have gatekeepers, right? But they're doing the demos first. They're asking all these questions that I would. They're thinking like me. But even in reps, like when a rep comes in, I'll give them, 2 or 3 minutes of my time, but realize at that second, when you're catching me in clinic and I may be running behind, I'm in clinic mindset. I'm not in business mindset. So I can switch it back and forth, but realize that that's the mindset that you're going to be making a business decision in, is in your clinical mind where you can't take risk.
Risk aversion, yeah.
Versus business mind where you can actually look at it through a clear lens and not be so myopic of now I'm, 40 minutes behind.
And it sounds like you probably follow EOS or some other methodology like that.
Yeah.
Based off what you're saying. Yeah, I know there's a specific thing in EOS called clarity time where you're working on the business. So it's actually physical time you block out to say, step away, relax, think in a different mindset about how you could grow the business and work on the business versus, oh my goodness, I've got all these other bills to pay and all these people. Just focus on how to develop the business. Do you do that kind of work is that how you kind of are able to shift?
I do. And then a funny story. So I'm holding up, I have 3 little frog figurines right here.
Yeah.
So this is my frog game. Happy to send people some frogs if you want to play the frog game. So I was 4 weeks postpartum after my second baby. And I was interviewing a COO for Dr. Contact Lens. And he told me I needed to fire my entire sales team. I was going to be out of money before I knew it. Like, well, that's why I'm on this call. It's because I need some help, huh? And he goes, Brianna, you ever walk in the morning and write down the 3 things you need to do that day? And I was like, I'm sorry, huh? 3 things? You think my list has 3 things on it? I blew up. Like, this industry is so small. And you and I both know you never burn a bridge in this industry. Well, I burnt one that day. Took me about 7 phone calls to get it back. But this is an Atomic Habits kind of meets Eat the Frog, meets just a productivity mommy, entrepreneur, busy person hack. So what I do in the mornings is the first 5 minutes of my day, I write down one thing that's going to bring me or someone joy, one easy task I need to do that day, and one hard task I need to do that's going to move my business forward. Not my never-ending to-do list of all this crap and being a wife and being a mom and owning 2 businesses and all the stuff that you have to get done. Because those are easy, but we never actually work on what's going to move the business forward. So I actually got a hold of him after I was like, is this what you meant? Because that's not how this came across. But realize it is in delivery. Like, I had just had a baby, man. Like, let's be a little bit, he definitely poked the mama bear.
Did you hire him? I'm just curious.
Oh, no, that was the last conversation. That was like, yeah, we knew we weren't going anywhere from there. And that's...
You learned something from the interaction. Yeah.
And it kept replaying over and over in my head. I'm like, what did you mean? Like 3 freaking things? So that's clarity. And when you do that day in and day out, because everybody, guys, we don't like to do the hard things. We know what we have to do, but let me go mindlessly scroll on LinkedIn. Let me go mindlessly do this versus getting what you need to get done.
And you're in a unique position to answer this next question I'm about to ask. And I'm really curious your thoughts. Is the future of what you're excited about in the future, specifically with the industry? Because your company, tell me a little bit more about how your company is different. Because I had a different impression from when I initially had thought when we talked about it. I'm gonna let you kind of say in your words. And then what are you excited about? And talk to us a little bit about why what you offer is important. Because I think it is important for doctors to hear from a defensive standpoint in the future where the industry is going. So can you tell us a little bit about what you're excited about and kind of how you got into Dr. Contact Lens and why that direction?
Yeah. So we just saw the writing on the wall. I was president of our local society at the moment, and the FTC rule was coming for obvious free reasons because they know we have the first crack at the sale. And we were like, well, this sucks. Like, we just purchased practices. This doesn't end well if we don't innovate. How hard could it be? Well, turns out, joke's on us. It's very hard. So we wanted a system that, again, would show us what happened at the end of every encounter. Who ordered from me? Who didn't? If they didn't, I wanted to be either to send them a text message where they could easily download their prescription, FTC compliant, but then be able to use their vision plan, use their rebates. I actually called it their vision plan gift card. It's funny when you use language like that over benefit. And away they order. So what I want people to understand is this is about you utilizing your data yourself. I don't care who you give your data to, because we're all doing it to save $1 on a box of contacts. You're given first name, last name, date of birth, last exam date, first name, phone number, email, address, typing all of that in to save $1. Guys, that doesn't end well. But if you actually use that to your benefit because you have it, that's data 2.0. That's creating a moat around your business that nobody can. That's providing a service to your patients that they want and need. That's Amazon of practice. You have all that right there. So that's the differentiator, is as data is sometimes easy, but it's kind of hard to get out of our EMR system. Once you get it, what are you going to do with it? So if I know my capture rate, what am I going to do with it? I can't really approve it. That's in the past.
Yeah, that's true.
What was your take on it when I actually showed you? What did you think Dr. Contact Lens was?
Oh, my perception was it was just another distributor that maybe had like a cool little twist to it. But your integration was much more extensive than I initially thought. And I might have actually heard about you before you had all those integrations built out. So it may not have been completely too far off. But I didn't know that was a vision, right? That's what you wanted to do. I was like, that is a brilliant vision because that's absolutely where it needs to go. Because we don't, our brow offices, we have two, and we don't partner with certain people because we know they take our data, right? And it's just like sometimes you can't help it because you got to work with VSP and other folks that we know where they get our data because we submit claims. But at the same time, it's like, do we really want to settle to SLO or not? Maybe, maybe not, because we want to keep that information. We don't want to give them any kind of ammo. Because it's interesting because you're right, they do use it. They don't tell you they use it directly, but it's not that hard to think about how they would use it. So you use SLOR. I'll pick on them because they're a behemoth. Use SLOR Lab for your private pay jobs. Well, guess what? Now they know who all are using the types of Crizal and all these other top add-ons, and they can easily target them independently outside of your use case. And say, oh, why don't you go to LensCrafters next time instead of coming here, right? They can show more targeted ads in your area because they know what percentage of population. So they can use it in a way that helps with the marketing spend in dollars. So it's kind of, and then, maybe IMED, maybe they don't make you a preferred vendor anymore, right? So, because they own IMED too. So they can use the data in interesting ways. And it can be a double-edged sword for sure when you use platforms that do that. And so I was really excited to hear about what you guys do with it. And what are your plans in the future? Like, where do you see it going? How do you see it empowering the private practices even more than what it already has?
Yeah, I think we're only getting started. I hear over and over that there's no money in contact lenses. Guys, that is not right. Your contact lens patients are what drive your myopia management practice. They are what drive your dry eye practice. They are what drive kids into your practice. So contact lens patients come back more frequently. They spend more money. And they are in more affluent, they just talk more like contact lens wearers. And so first off, change your belief that there's not money in contact lenses because there's billions of dollars, right? Like if you look at Vision Expo where there's 5,000 doctors there, if one patient leaves a day, I want you to look at every contact lens prescription that you write as a $300 gift card that you're giving to the patient to spend outside of your store. Okay? If you hand them a piece of paper and you give them homework, they're not going to remember to order from you. If you send it to them digitally, now they can. So every script you write just in contacts is worth $300. Glasses, upwards of $400 to $500. Every script that you write. And now with the FTC with glasses, so you can kind of see where we're going there. But this is just about connecting the patient back to your practice. Don't be so, oh, there's another one that left. There's another one that left. There's another one that left. That's exhausting, right? We work really hard for our patients. We take really good care of them to then give them a sample, see them back in a year and be like, did you get more of those drops? They're like, no, I ran out of the sample.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, it's interesting because we made a big, in our office, we try to do a good job of capturing that on the front end. But you're right. That's the reason why we picked Marlowe, right? One of the platforms that we use is because they have that. If they don't buy everything up front, they constantly remind them and automatically engage them. So full transparency, we're probably going to be reaching out to you all to see if we can integrate that instead.
Yeah.
To see what that looks like for us. So I'm excited about it because we get to own the data and we get to own that patient experience versus someone else owning it, which is a big concern because I want them to know us and not the vendors.
Correct.
Yes, they need to know the products, but the relationship with us. And why would we give that relationship away? Because we've worked so hard to develop it over the years. Some people are seeing multi-generations. I have guests that have the like second generation ownerships and seeing patients for 40 years and families for 40 years. So why would you give that away, right?
Yeah. And that's what excites me about this is a lot of us are understanding that we do have to become tech companies, that we do own businesses that practice eye care. And with where AI is going, I mean, the eye is health, right? And I hear in all these circles, right? Because I'm in these circles with all the CEOs, they want to cut us out because we're not evolving fast enough. We're not seeing enough patients. So don't tell me that you're booked out for 4 months when you see 10 patients a day. No, you're not booked out. You're literally booked out 3 weeks. Figure out how to more effectively and efficiently see those patients where you're not so tired at patient number 10. Look back at the mundane tasks that you're doing day in and day out. Again, going to 4 different systems to place an order. Look at what your team's doing. They forgot that login. Now they're going to get back to it, come back. They forgot to order it for the patient. The patient calls you back upset in a week because they don't have their contact lenses and they're leaving to go on a cruise tomorrow. And now you don't have trials or diagnostic lenses. So this comes back to our patients want to see us. But why do they not want to order from us? Because we're confusing them and we're not having the proper conversation. We're throwing too much on the patient in the conversation. So, Ankit, like, for instance, you'd come up and you're like, all right, my copay is $10. My Optos is $39. Your year supply of contacts is $975. Your glasses today are $654. You've got a copay with your vision plan, which is going to give you $100 off here. You've got a rebate of $250. Dr. Rhue wants to see you back in 2 weeks to start an IPL treatment. We've got your son who we're going to start in a myopia management treatment, which is only $2,000, but we're going to see him back in 4 weeks and then another 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. But then she also wants you to take this dry eye vitamin, which I think is right here, and some MacuHealth. Is that cash, check, or charge? Like, the patient in that case was like, I'm sorry, did you say $10? Can I have a copy of my prescription?
Yeah. It's funny because it was like, I laugh. I'm like, you know what? I've probably done that right there. And I was like, man, that was me at one point. I was like, I swear I've done that before. Yeah, right. It's confusing as heck. Like, and now I tell people, my staff, it's like, look, you're spending 3 to 6 months to learn all these things. It's like, don't like, it's really, yes, you need to educate the patient, but you got to do it in a way that makes sense. Like, they're not going to know what Abbey value is on one material versus another and why it's better. Right. It's not something that maybe some engineers come in, they like that kind of stuff, but most of the people aren't going to want that level of detail. So that's actually a great insight in what would it look like to have a more seamless, great experience that the patient gets what they need and you connect the dots there. And I think that's what I'm hearing as a theme of what you're able to do. But you do that by making sure your team is aligned, both in your tech team in here, and they're thinking the same way you are. So that way you can trust them to also be doing the same things. So it's not just you thinking this way, it's your team thinking this way.
Yeah. And you have to speak that. Nobody can speak your mind. I mean, I can like telepathically talk to my executive assistant now. We call her my chief soul officer because she protects my soul. Because this industry we're interesting characters, guys. Like, oh my God, calm down. Like, same team. But when you share your dreams, share your goals, when you were at a conference, what did you learn? What brought you back excited? Like, that's how I brought my myopia clinic. We got it launched in an hour. Do you have a whiteboard? Like, something so silly, right? That's what I've translated over there into the tech world. A whiteboard. Guys, it's $15. Hang it up. Use it, right? We've got one in our kitchen. We've got one in my office. So those whiteboard moments are super fun when you do just ideate and do just that. Don't go into problem solving mode. Like, when we're learning or when we're, getting ready to do a programming step, we do, like, for 2 hours, we just throw out ideas. You're not allowed to solve the problem. You're not allowed to say that's not going to work. You ideate off of it. Then you come back and you score everything on how you're going to implement it. And then you focus. So it's something coming back to the patient experience. They came in saying that their eyes were dry or that they wanted a new pair of glasses. Focus on that and bring them back.
Yeah. As simple as that, right? Keep it simple.
Yes, let's kiss this and please.
So knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to yourself 4 days after you graduated OD school?
4 days. I knew exactly what I was getting into with optometry. So I grew up working for an optometrist and he gave me contacts in 3rd grade. I feel like that's when I became an optometrist. He saw 55 patients a day with a scribe, 2.5 days a week. I knew exactly what I was getting into. I knew the business side. That's actually why I went to optometry school, was because I wanted a business, but I also wanted to be a doctor. So that meshed well. And the best advice is to stay curious. I wish I knew how to ask better questions. And I always was very curious. But if I could have sped anything up, it would have been that. Like, you don't know shit when you graduate. Like, you really don't. You just passed a test. Okay. And one thing is, you passed the test, you passed the test. Now the test starts when you can teach it and when you can apply it. You're not going to apply everything in optometry school. Like, you're just not, right? But realize where you sit is that you are the shark in Shark Tank. As everybody's pitching you, right? Again, that's in the book. Everyone's pitching you. That makes you the shark in Shark Tank. But you're acting like scared little minnows, right? So bring that back to you, because your patients need you. The industry needs you. The industry needs you to evolve faster. And you do that by staying curious. Once you know it all, like, you're on the decline.
I like that. That's good insight. I think always be learning, right?
Yeah.
Learn. So where can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. So Brianna Rhue, BriannaRhue. I'm on LinkedIn as my jam. That's where I am. You can also check us out at drcontactlens.com. So again, if you're using one system, hope you're using something, but go do your demo. Again, this is about processes that we teach you. I teach many processes, right? So we have monthly webinars that I bring on guests just like you, where one was like, don't take a bath with a toaster. That was a fun one, which we had an office manager on. So I'm, again, always looking outside of industry to bring new ideas, invigorate people. It's hard to be in the seat that you're in, but it's also a really special one.
Nice. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And we'll put all that in the show notes so people can reach out to you. And thank you again, Dr. Brianna Rhue, for being on the show.
Thank you. What's your biggest takeaway from today?
Oh gosh, I liked the way you develop capacity in people. Use different opportunities and moments to develop training. So when you have vendors come in, use it as an opportunity to see and train your staff on how you would think about the situation and see if they're aligned with your goals and opportunities. So it doesn't have to be a formal sit down, let me teach you about stuff. It's let's put you in live action, but it's a safe place to do it. That was probably a really good takeaway. The second takeaway I really liked was around, it touches in with owning the patient communication cycle, owning the patient relationship. I really like the fact that, you know what, optometrists need to do more with owning that patient relationship all the way from front to back. But there's some technology limitations. And so I really liked how that was a theme which led you to find Dr. Contact Lens. So those are my two biggest takeaways is, keep alignment with your team by putting small tests out there, and then own that patient relationship.
I love that. It's always fun to hear what people say.
Yeah. I guess everyone takes their own lens to it. So, well, thank you again. And thank you, audience, for listening. If you learned something, laughed, or just enjoyed it, please subscribe to the podcast or YouTube videos. And thank you again, Dr. Rhue. This has been another exciting episode of Optometry Building Podcast. We'll see you next time. That's a wrap on another episode of Optometrists Building Empires. Thanks for joining. For show notes and more, visit buildingempires.live. This show is proudly sponsored by My Business Care Team. My Business Care Team was born out of staffing challenges my wife and I faced together, managing multiple optometry locations. We refined our approach at Classic Vision Care and now offer our expertise to others. If you're experiencing challenges with staffing and you'd like to set up a discovery call, we'd be happy to help you and connect you with the right resources. We'll see you next time.